Richard Miller, and this is the 95th Rifles. This was the British Army in 1800 all the way up to 1815. Basically the redcoats, only in green uniform. It was a specialized unit. The French, Napoleon was going through Europe taking just about everything. And the British were sitting on the other side of the channel thinking, we're next, what are we going to do about it? So they started building forts all along the southern border of England, and General Moore said, well, they'll just go around. What else do we have? And General Coote Manningham and General Stuart went to the king and said, during the American Revolution, the Patriots were using rifles to good effect. Why don't we try it? So they formed the Experimental Corps of Rifles in 1800, went to all the different units, took out 20, 30 men from each one, brought them together at Shorncliffe, and trained them in the use of a Baker rifle. Difference between the rifle and the musket, first of all, is the musket is good range, about 75 to 100 yards. By putting rifling in, they were reaching out to 300 yards. The other big difference is that I can, first of all, the price costs 3 times for a rifle what it does for a musket because of the machining. The other part is I can teach you to shoot a musket in 15 minutes. I'm going to tell you what to do. And everyone's standing shoulder to shoulder, standard British line infantry. French did the same thing. And I will tell you exactly when to load, how to load, when to fire. With the rifles, it was 2-man teams, wide separation, anywhere 10 to 30 yards between. And they were independent. They were basically given a whistle command or a bugle to commence firing, and that was the last thing they heard until they heard ceasefire or retreat. They were on their own. So it was a very independent way of thinking, entirely different than the British Army, and it took a lot of training. A musket, 15 minutes. To fire a rifle accurately would take anywhere 2 to 3 months. So these men were taking 2 to 3 months of shooting every day, so they were burning powder, they were burning ball, you had to feed them, you had to pay them, so they were expensive. But at the same time, it worked out to be very effective. We were shooting French officers at long range. Napoleon started getting reports of a more than unusual number of officers being shot from long distances. So it worked out very well. And we were, the skirmishers, we were basically the speed bump between the French army and the British army. We were wide separation, as I said, wide, big area. The generals were basically an army-level command, meaning they took their orders directly from Wellington, and he would tell Moore or whoever, you take this position. If you think you can hold it, hold it. If you can't, fall back. And that was the last order they gave. And as you saw, the battle honors, they went all the way through from Copenhagen, all the way in through Portugal. Well, actually, they went into northern Europe and got beaten back. So the next advance was to go through Portugal, and they went through Lisbon, all the way through Portugal, all the way up to the northern Portugal, into Spain, down through Spain, into France, and Napoleon surrenders. Well, that freed up our 3rd Battalion to come over to the Battle of New Orleans. And so we did have the 95th Rifles at the Battle of New Orleans. Once again, Napoleon escapes, reforms his army, and moves north into Belgium, where the 95th stopped them at Courtrai and then at Waterloo. Waterloo is all 3 battalions, and I don't think Wellington had time to deploy them as effectively, so there were 3 bunch battalions working as infantry, basic infantry. As you saw at 1815, 95th goes away. The British Army, having beaten the French, downsizes. 95th had a high number. It was an unusual unit. It was an expensive unit. And Horse Guards said, nope, we're going to disband. Wellington said no, and redesignated them as a rifle brigade. So they will not have a number. We're not going to do this again. The rifles still exist as the Rifles. They have 6 battalions, and they are still in green uniforms, following some of the same traditions as the 95th.